as I'm on this road, I'm in the second gear, it's gone up to third, a fourth, and if I was to just put my foot down, drop to third, and just listen to that sound. And this is why these naturally aspirated flat six boxer engines are so highly sought after. Hi, welcome to Invictus Porsche. I often get asked, are the Porsche Caymans better than the 911s? Well, let's find out. The answer is yes, and this is going to be a bit controversial because firstly, everyone's like, well, the 911 has the heritage. Well, the Cayman's heritage, as a matter of fact, predates that of the 911 because the 911, is a 1963, and the Caymans are actually based off the Porsches from the 50s. Yes, they were sort of like reintroduced with the ideas of it having the monocoque chassis, greater torsional rigidity, and so forth in and around sort of 2004 to 2005. But the Cayman overall is a much more driver-focused car. It handles better, it drives better, and all in all, from the driving point of view, the Cayman is so much more fun to drive, and it costs you a lot less money than a 911. And in this video, what I would like to cover is potentially simply the 987 Generation 2 Porsches and why they cost the money they cost, because for that kind of money you could actually get yourself a 911 997.1 for around the 20 to 25,000 pounds bracket. This is in the year that we are in, sort of June 2022. But additionally, just want to cover what they're like to drive, what the spec is on the 2.9, and overall, what do you get for the money? I mean, if you went out, spent 25 grand getting a Gen 2 Caymans, what can you expect from it? So let's just get into the driver's seat and drive it and tell you a bit more about it. Well, now that we're in the driving seat, let's find out what it's made of. And firstly, from the driving capability point of view, this has the 2.9 litre flat six boxer engine, which is 6-cylinder, and it produces 261 brake horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque, and the top speed is 163 miles per hour, and in terms of the 0 to 62, that's possible in 5.7 seconds. But these cars were never about the top end performance of them or how fast it could do the 0 to 60. These cars initially, in and around sort of 2005 when they were introduced, they were all about the handling. And obviously, these being a mid-engine car, you've got this perfectly proportioned balance between where the engine is as opposed to the 911, where it's actually behind the rear axle. And now additionally, these handle like an absolute dream around corners. And there aren't actually many sports cars out there that can handle the ways these Porsche Caymans handle. And yes, you'll have the Toyota GT86s or the Lotus Elise, but I guess the Toyota is the Toyota and the Lotus Elise is not everybody's cup of tea because they are extremely different cars. And additionally, the Porsche is the Porsche. I mean, it's the badge, it's the quality, it's the fact that these doors, as an example, when you open and you shut them, these are steel doors, just simply the sound it produces. And overall, these cars are designed to give you basically the perfect experience, both if you're going to be doing long tours in terms of trips, or if you're going to be taking it out on the day at the track. Whatever you need it to do, it will do that extremely well. And above all, the Porsche Caymans have the advantage of having a front boot and a rear boot, so you get so much more practical space than compared to, let's just say, some of the other mid-engine sports cars. Which, kudos to Porsche for being able to produce something as practical as this, something as comfortable as this. Now let's talk about the spec on this, and let's talk about just the spec and the rarity of the Generation 2 987s. These were produced in and around the recession time, so they're not sort of available to the market in hundreds of numbers. At any one time, I think there might be 10, 20, even up to 30 available. And depending on whether you're buying the 2.9 or you're buying the 3.4, it would vary how many of these are actually out there ready for sale. I mean, this is just one example in terms of the spec. If you're looking for something with the the sports seats, the memory sports seats, which are hardback, with a Chrono Sport Plus package, and the fact this has got the 19-inch sport design wheels, complemented by the fact that it's in the Basheer black metallic. When you're looking for a spec, like this, you're very limited for choice, and that is exactly the point that I'm trying to get across. These cars also, you can modify them in terms of the exhaust sound that you want. You've got loads of options, from having whatever exhaust system you want to put on. Additionally, you can have like a front lip on the on the front bumper. You could have something put on the rear bumper. You could have some side skirts and things like that, just to make it look like whatever. Really, that's completely up to you. And then additionally, you can also buy the GT4 body kits for these. And I actually had it on a 3.4 Caymans, and the body kit looked absolutely stunning. But all of these things are, potentially not my cup of tea at the end of the day, because I do like my cars to be as stock as possible. Now let's talk about some of the other things on this, specifically the engine and the transmission, because in and around 2008 to 2009, basically the Porsche went from having the Tiptronic gearbox to the PDK gearbox. The PDKs were an absolute game changer. Just to tell you what a game changer they were, and to take that point home, they introduced the 991 GT3s in around 2014, and the RSs I think a year later, and they were only available in automatic PDK because they wanted to phase out the manual transmission. And this just goes to show how highly they thought of the PDKs. And also, the PDK cost an extra $2,000. That extra $2,000 meant that this was the highly sought after gearbox. And I think up to about 70% of the people option to have the PDK as opposed to the manual transmission. The PDK stands for Doppelkupplungsgetriebe, which means dual clutch gearbox. And if you want, a transmission system that gives you absolutely phenomenal, sports performance, practicality, and a transmission that you actually don't feel like you're changing gears, or a transmission, let me just prove it. As I'm on this road, I'm in the second gear, it's gone up to third, fourth, and if I was to just put my foot down, drop to third, and just listen to that sound. And this is why these naturally aspirated flat six boxer engines are so highly sought after, because of everything combined: the sound, the fact that they are just so progressive in how that performance is being offered. I mean, there isn't sort of turbos in here, or the slight turbo lag, or a slight noise from the turbo, from a slight whistling point of view. And this is what makes these naturally aspirated Porsches so highly sought after. And the DFI engines, which is the next conversation that I'd like to get into, is basically they went away from the indirect fuel injection engine. And the indirect fuel injection engines don't want to be getting into the ins and outs of how they're designed, but the DFI engines simply feeds the fuel directly into the combustion chamber. As in the indirect, the fuel is fed into the air intake manifold, and then it goes into the combustion chamber. So how the energy is basically created over time, basically the indirect fuel injections, especially the 996's and the 997, can develop scoring. But a lot of it is due to the lack of use, the fact that they're parked up, but also they had another issue with a single row IMS bearing having, some percentage of, rate of failures. Some say 3, some say 5%, each to their own. So the DFI engine completely eliminated all these issues and phased it out. And the 2.9 litre is based on the architecture of the 9A1 direct fuel injected engines. So all in all, you get an absolutely fantastic value for your money with the 987.2. they are, you know, people question, why should I get the 2.9 as opposed to the 3.4? Well, the 2.9, in my opinion, is my more preferred engine as opposed to the 3.4, because the top speed on the UK roads really is 70 miles an hour. And just to illustrate, let me just put that sports button on, and I want to have a bit of fun. We're 45 miles an hour, 60 miles, 64, now 70 miles an hour, and that is as fast as you can go, and that is it. You know, you shouldn't be really going faster than that. So my idea of wanting the 2.9 as opposed to the 3.4 is, I'd like to get to that 70 miles an hour rather progressively, because, you know, I'd like to enjoy that journey getting up to speed as opposed to instantly getting up to speed, and, you know, that excitement disappears immediately. And this is why I'm a huge go-getter after the 2.9 as opposed to the 3.4. Well, again, at the end of the day, each to their own, and you know, buy what makes you happy and what puts a smile on your face. And lastly, on this Cayman, it is currently available. It's probably not in approximately 5 days time, because somebody's put a deposit down. This is a 3 owner since new, and it's got a combination of a Porsche and a specialist service history. So you know, very well spec'd, kept in very, very good condition. And overall, I hope I've done it some justice by just reviewing the Caymans, and hopefully if you are looking to buy a Cayman, you might perhaps consider buying one of these, and hopefully I can tempt you in some way, form or shape. So I'll just thank you one more time for, you know, staying tuned, watching our videos, subscribing to us. We've got a massive project happening in Afghanistan at the moment. We're actually building a school which is going to cost circa $50,000 US. So all the revenue that we're actually earning from YouTube gets donated over to a charity that is going to build that school at the moment. So we need all the help we can. You know, click subscribe, you know, gives us a thumbs up. I'll attach the link to this project that we are fundraising for. So thank you very much, and see you on the next one. And if you've got any questions about Caymans, hopefully I've done it some justice, do let us know, and thank you for your time. Bye bye.